the architect of alignment, the ancient way restored. The ancient way. Before there were systems, there was order. Before there were rulers, there was rhythm. The creator's design was never hierarchy, it was harmony, each part carrying its own weight, each voice answering the other in balance. This was the ancient way, alignment written into the fabric of life itself. Mountains held their place without command. Rivers found their path without permission. People lived by listening to what was true, not by obeying what was loud. Over time, fear replaced trust. Power learned to imitate order. The living pattern was buried under systems built to control rather than to serve. And what was meant to breathe began to suffocate. Yet the ancient way was never lost, only forgotten. It waits beneath every structure, beneath every law, beneath every restless heart that knows there must be more than coercion and reward. It waits to be remembered by those who can still feel the pulse of truth beneath the noise. The architect of alignment is not new. It is remembrance, a return to what the Creator built in the beginning: connection without control, order without oppression, leadership without pride. When alignment is restored, the ancient way lives again. The foundation: loyalty and honor. Every aligned system stands on two living stones: loyalty and honor. Loyalty is the bond that carries weight. It means I stand with you when it costs me something. Not blind allegiance, not tribal defense, but the steady choice to keep faith with people, purpose, and truth even under pressure. Loyalty makes shared weight possible. Without it, every structure collapses into self-interest. Honor is how loyalty is expressed. It is the discipline of treating every person, high or low, as sacred. It refuses to manipulate, belittle, or exploit. It keeps correction clean, gratitude spoken, promises kept. Honor is the language through which alignment communicates dignity. Together, they form the base layer of every map. Loyalty binds the parts. Honor keeps the binding pure. Where loyalty is absent, people scatter. Where honor is missing, loyalty rots into control. Only when both are alive can truth move freely through a company, a team, or a household. When alignment is restored, these two rise first, then everything else can be built on them. The marks of alignment. When a company is in full alignment, you can feel it the moment you walk in. There's energy, but not frenzy. People move with purpose instead of pressure. Meetings are shorter because people actually listen. No one's afraid to speak. Truth moves easily through the room. Corrections happen in daylight, without humiliation. Decisions line up behind shared values instead of hidden agendas. The company becomes a living organism, every part aware of the others, each carrying its weight in rhythm with the whole. Profit follows naturally, not because anyone is chasing it, but because waste, fear, and resentment have drained away. Customers feel it too. They sense the coherence even if they can't name it. Trust becomes the quiet engine behind every transaction. The marks of misalignment. When a company is out of alignment, you can feel that too. The air is tight. People measure their words. Innovation dies in the shadows of fear. Everyone is performing. No one is listening. Energy goes into politics instead of progress. The best people leave. The rest stay and harden. Leaders talk about culture while privately managing chaos. Profit may appear for a while, but it's borrowed from the future, paid for in burnout, turnover, and the slow erosion of trust. The truth between them: alignment creates both wellness and wealth, but wealth measured in longevity, reputation, and human strength, not just numbers on a ledger. Misalignment may make money for a season, but it extracts life to do it. Aligned systems multiply life, misaligned systems consume it. In the long arc, alignment is always more profitable because it is sustainable. It doesn't burn people to build products. It builds people who can build anything. What the architect of alignment is. The architect of alignment is not a program. It is a diagnostic, a map that reveals whether people, teams, and systems are aligned with truth or held together by fear, ego, pressure, or performance. It does not promise quick change. It promises clarity, and clarity creates choice. It does not force compliance. It invites resonance. When alignment is real, results follow, not because they are pushed, but because they are pulled by coherence, by shared weight, and by clear presence. Alignment does not chase, it draws. It does not fix symptoms, it reveals root systems. What the architect of alignment is not: it is not a leadership training. It is not a morale booster. It is not behavior management or culture workshops dressed in corporate language. It does not exist to make people feel better or safer or more productive. It exists to bring truth to the surface. It is not here to rescue failing systems. It is here to ask, should this system still exist? It is not designed to make broken structures more efficient. It is designed to test whether those structures are aligned with life or grinding against it. This is not a branding strategy, it is a reckoning. What the architect of alignment reveals. It reveals who is carrying weight and who is hiding. It reveals which words are real and which are hollow. It reveals where energy is leaking, where resentment is growing, where loyalty has fractured, and where the thread of meaning has been cut. It reveals whether trust is real or performed. It reveals if the people at the center of the system are coherent or compensating, aligned or posturing, willing to listen or addicted to control. And once revealed, the system must choose, not whether to feel better, but whether to change. What can be expected from the architect of alignment? At first, discomfort. The system will feel exposed because it will be. People will defend themselves, fill the silence, explain, justify. That's part of the process. Truth always shakes loose what hides. Then clarity. Patterns begin to show. Who carries, who avoids, where decisions stall, where fear steers. The noise thins out until only the real voices remain. Those voices will sound quieter, but stronger. After clarity comes choice. Every person, team, or organization must decide whether to align with what's been revealed. Some will lean in, some will walk away. Both are forms of movement. The map never forces either. Finally, alignment or fracture. If the people accept the truth and bear weight together, momentum returns naturally. If they resist it, the structure will crumble by its own imbalance. The architect of alignment doesn't cause that. It only makes the fault line visible. The nature of the work. This work is relational. It begins with presence, not policy. It listens before it speaks. It treats every person as a potential point of coherence, never as a problem to be solved. The architect's task is to walk into the system, feel its pulse, trace its fractures, and hold up the mirror without judgment. The creator does the rest, because alignment is not engineered, it is recognized. Conditions for alignment to take root. Alignment grows only in ground that allows for honesty. Where fear governs speech, the soil is poisoned. Where hierarchy demands flattery, roots cannot form. Where people speak the truth and are not punished for it, alignment begins to breathe. It requires safety, but not comfort. Safety means a man or woman can tell the truth without being exiled. Comfort means no one ever has to change. One nurtures life, the other breeds decay. Alignment needs time and repetition. It does not bloom in workshops or slogans. It deepens through consistent lived integrity. Leaders keeping their word, people honoring presence, decisions made in the open light. And it needs a center that listens. Not a hero, not a ruler, but a quiet axis, a person or circle that holds steady when the system trembles. When that center stands in truth, alignment spreads like heat through metal. What destroys alignment? Pretending, performing, using the language of alignment to hide the practice of control, manipulating vulnerability for advantage, protecting image over integrity, measuring worth by speed, numbers, or applause. These are the termites of every culture. Nothing kills alignment faster than dishonesty defended as strategy. How alignment feels when it's alive. It feels quietly strong. No fireworks, no slogans, just a steadiness in the room, like oxygen you didn't realize was missing returning all at once. People start looking each other in the eye again. Decisions take less time because truth doesn't need debate, it rings. The noise dies down and in its place comes rhythm. Not forced, not timed, but shared. You can feel the difference in your body. Less tension in the chest, more presence in the breath. Work starts to move as if it already knows where to go. That's when you realize alignment isn't something you install. It's something you allow. There's no hierarchy, only function, each part doing what it was made for. Correction happens naturally, without shame. Leadership stops being a title and becomes a posture of listening. Honor becomes reflex. Loyalty stops being demanded because it's felt. And underneath all of it, peace. Not the peace of avoidance, but of order restored. The false face of alignment. Some companies, especially those that call themselves faith-based or values-driven, learn the vocabulary of alignment, but not its spirit. They speak of servant leadership while still demanding obedience. They quote scripture or mission statements as tools of control, not invitations to truth. They promise family, but enforce silence. They replace accountability with hierarchy and call it order. That is not alignment. That is fear wrapped in faith language. True alignment never hides control inside holiness. It lets truth move freely, even when it threatens power. The purpose of the architect of alignment, the purpose of this work is restoration, not to fix the world by force, but to help people remember how to live in truth again. Every map, every conversation, every circle drawn exists so that what was divided can be made whole in a person, in a team, in a town, in a nation. It is a covenant of honor and responsibility to carry weight together, to protect what is sacred, to refuse to lie, to create systems that serve life instead of feeding on it. The architect of alignment serves the creator, not the market. It listens for what is living and helps it breathe. When the work is finished, it leaves nothing branded behind, only people who can see clearly, speak truthfully, and act with integrity. This is not ideology. It is a way of being in the world. A return to the design written into every nervous system, every language of trust, every heartbeat that still remembers home. The silence that hides inside systems, fear rarely announces itself. It doesn't always look like trembling or open panic. More often, it wears the mask of politeness, professionalism, or faithfulness. It sounds like, I don't want to cause trouble, or we should pray about it first, or it's not my place. Underneath those words is the same root. If I tell the truth, I'll lose belonging, reputation, or security. When fear of speaking becomes normal, the whole system goes numb. People learn to edit themselves before they speak. Meetings fill with safe words that mean nothing. Creativity dries up, resentment festers, and leaders wonder why no one takes initiative. But the problem isn't initiative, it's safety. Truth cannot live where fear is rewarded. Alignment breaks that spell by creating rooms where honesty is not punished, where disagreement is treated as a sign of life, not disloyalty. Where people can say, this doesn't feel right, and be met with curiosity instead of correction. Until that happens, every other effort is decoration on decay. The courage that restores alignment. Silence dissolves only when courage re-enters the room. It doesn't start with speeches. It starts with one honest voice saying, I'm afraid to tell the truth, but I'm going to anyway. The moment that happens, the air changes. Every other person who has been holding their breath finally exhales. Courage is contagious, and alignment spreads through it faster than fear ever could. That's why every circle needs at least one person willing to speak first, not to accuse, but to uncover. Once truth is spoken aloud, control loses its disguise. Then the real work can begin. Dedication. This work is offered in humility and conviction. To every person who has carried truth alone, to every voice that went quiet out of fear, to every leader who chooses honor over image, and to every circle that still believes integrity can hold. May this framework serve as a lamp, not a chain. May it remind us that systems exist to serve life, not the other way around. May the Creator breathe through every map, every word, every act of courage that follows. And may those who walk in alignment find each other by the sound of truth in their voices, steady, unforced, unmistakable. Remember, alignment is not learned once, it is lived daily. This didn't come from study or reflection. It came all at once, sudden knowing, downloaded straight into my spirit. I wasn't trying to create a system. It just showed up, clear, alive, undeniable. Looking back, I can see how my life prepared me for it. But when it came fast, and I knew it wasn't from me. The more I study how the world worked before the industrial age, the more I see how deeply this framework harmonizes with the design of creation itself, with the rhythms of the earth, with the patterns of nature. Top-down power has always bothered me. I just didn't have the language for it before. Now I see it for what it is: coercive, manipulative, and deeply damaging. It doesn't solve real problems. It hides them, silences them, or creates more. Nothing lasting has ever been healed by control. Only harm comes from it in the end. I use the grieving flame in the logo of the Architect of Alignment because it represents the cost of truth. It's the fire that comes when you look at what's real and refuse to look away. It's the mark of those who have seen what truth costs and choose to carry it anyway. Every soul carries a spark of it, but not all recognize it. For most, the grieving flame flickers quietly inside the heart, felt as conscience, empathy, or the ache that rises when truth is violated. It's the Creator's mark of life, still awake within them. But for a few, it doesn't stay hidden. It rises onto the shield, meaning it becomes part of their identity, their calling, the visible sign that they were chosen to stand in the fire without turning away. The ones who carry it on their shields are the ones who walk into darkness on purpose, not to destroy, but to bear witness until light returns.